everyone, welcome and thank you much for watching. Just wanted to sort of share with you how I'm keeping as positive as I can throughout this crisis which is currently sweeping the globe at the moment. Now the truth is, any sort of crisis is not easy, is never easy. This one in particular is something I've never seen before in my life, and something I hope, and I think I speak for everyone, hope that we never see this ever again. However, that being said, I always think or feel in any sort of crisis or tough situation, we have to keep a sort of level head as much as we possibly can, not just for ourselves, but also for our loved ones around us. Because sometimes the loved ones around us need us to keep strong for them. So what I'd like to share with you, sort of just generally 5 ways I use quite on a regular basis, not just for this, however it has helped, but also for in any sort of tough situations and the way I sort of look at things. Not everyone is going to agree with me, but this is just personally how I deal with it. And if it can help someone deal with things a little bit better, then brilliant. Now, the first one is really just I sort of think outside of the situation, a bit like in an argument. If sort of 2 people are having an argument or a disagreement, the way to get it resolved is to first of all I'll see it from my point of view. I'll also try and see it from the other person's point of view, but then I'll also try and see it from a third person's point of view. And what I mean by that is seeing it from outside of the argument, as if you're sort of not involved. So you can see it from both perspectives as a neutral. And that's kind of how I also look at this. I see it outside of the situation. I see, is there some sort of ulterior motive maybe the universe has for us? Is it some sort of message the universe is trying to tell us? Because I've noticed throughout this crisis, this virus, the majority of people have sort of come together to work together to try and beat this as a whole. And that means people in lockdown, which hasn't been fun by no means, and however the majority of people have been staying at home, have been doing their bit, only going out for essential travel to try and stop the spread of the virus. Now, this is where I feel that the universe is telling us to work together more often. Or maybe it's telling us to look after our world better as well. Because I've seen posts from various different areas, sort of Facebook and news and stuff, about how our environment has actually improved due to less travel, less planes. I've also seen, I don't know how true it is, but if it is true, then absolutely wonderful. But also maybe it's the universe's way of telling us to, rather than think of ourselves as individuals, think of ourselves as a whole world, not just countries, not just your towns, not just your cities, but we are as one. And that is how we need to progress further to survive and for our world to thrive. That's how I sort of look at things outside of the situation and how I try and deal with it. Now the next one is that I try and see the good instead of the bad. Now, I believe this is one of the main reasons during a time of crisis, and time of sort of craziness, people become so panicked, and sort of the anxieties and worries start kicking in, purely because you sort of watch, especially with current events, there's worry all around the world. It's all on the news, it's on social media, it's on Facebook, it's wherever you go, wherever you turn, there's people talking about this pandemic, this virus, this crisis that's going on. And with everyone sort of talking about it, it will start sort of eating away at your mind and start causing you to worry more than you normally would. Now, yes, it's extremely sad, and please don't take this the wrong way and think don't think it's sad. It is, yes, 100%. With sort of the death toll rising every day. But what I try and look at is, instead, I will take notice of it. However, what I also take a lot of notice of as well is how many people are actually recovering from this virus. And I think I read yesterday on the news, because I had a quick look at it. There's over 300,000 people now that have actually recovered from this virus. And no, I'm not taking it away from how many people have lost their lives, and it is very sad. I'm saying I try and look at the positive instead of the negative, or the good instead of the bad. Now, again, with everyone talking about the bad all the time, and again, you see it on your news feeds and on social media, on Facebook and whatnot. But with all that negative news around, we have to try and keep as positive as we possibly can. And whatever is going on around the world, and this is in relation to sort of life in general, not pre-virus, is we can't control how everyone else is going to act or react, but the one thing we can do is to control how we react ourselves. If we can create the mindfulness and ability to see the good in the world instead of the bad, I found it over the years has changed my perspective of life as well. The other thing is actually to think about what you do want as opposed to what you don't want. Now, this is something I read in one of the first books I read, which was The Secret, which is all about the law of attraction. And whatever you feel, whatever you think about, you attract. So what it means is, like, so for example, if you talk about that, I don't want to be overweight anymore. Instead of that, think of, I want to be fit and healthy. I want to be muscular, if you wish. I want to lose weight, rather than I don't want to be overweight. One thing that comes up in The Secret as well, actually, is when people talk about, I don't want war. Instead of saying I don't want that, say I want peace. So, although yes, I don't like this virus any more than anyone else. However, instead of saying I don't want the virus, start by changing your mindset into what you do want. So I want people to be healthy again. I want people to survive. I want people to get through this. I want us all to get through this stronger at the end of it. So again, instead of focusing on what you don't want, focus on what you do want in life, and what you do want out of this virus, and what you do want at the end of this. Now it brings me on to sort of the next one, really, is I imagine an end. It's a bit like when you go for a goal, or you go for something you're trying to achieve. You'll always have that picture of your end goal in mind. So I use that in the same way, in the sense of always having a picture of the end of this crisis in your mind. And it's so hard in these sort of situations to see an end at all, because again, like I said earlier, it's all around you, all the bad news on the media, the social media, when you put on the news, when you put on the radio, sometimes you just can't get away from it. So you'll never see the end result or the ending of this virus or this crisis. So it's the same as any sort of visualization exercise. So enable your mind to see that there is going to be an end, and that end is ideally going to be very soon. And that's how I try and get through these sort of crises. That's how I try and think more positively in a time of crisis. And again, it's not just relating to this, it's in relation to any sort of, even the smallest crisis I can think of. Can't off the top of my head now, but that's how I deal with it myself. And the last thing is actually having belief. Now, belief, I believe, is so important in just daily life, as well as it's even more important now. Having the belief that there will be a better tomorrow, having the belief that things are getting better, having the belief that people are going to be surviving, having the belief that there will be an end to this suffering. And without having belief, there will never be a better tomorrow. Without having belief, you always suffer. So it's just like seeing sort of the end. As I said before, it's having belief that there will be an end, and we will be prosperous at the end of this as well. So that's sort of how I deal with situations like this. Although, again, I've never really dealt with a situation like this before in my life. And I hasten to add that I would never want to deal with this again. But just want to sort of have some final thoughts on this. And because dealing with a crisis, any sort of crisis may be harder for other people, or harder for some than others. And especially for the ones that have lost loved ones during this time. And I don't want to sort of take anything away from that, because we've all lost loved ones in the past. However, at times like this, not being able to grieve properly or have your family around you, I can't even imagine how it feels. Not being able to grieve or have anyone to console you. I just can't imagine sort of how it feels. My heart goes out to you. It really does. But also businesses that are almost being destroyed due to having to shut the doors due to the lockdowns. Because at the end of the day, that's your livelihood. And I do, as again, my heart does go out to you as well, because I have no idea how sort of you're dealing with it, or self-employed are dealing with it. But I do hope somewhere along the lines, the government will sort of help out there as well. But the one thing as well is my hats go off to all in the UK, our NHS and all other medical professionals around the world. Because I imagine at this point in time, all of you on the front line, putting their own lives at risk, just like a soldier would fight in a war. Our doctors, nurses and medical professionals are fighting against an invisible enemy and putting their own lives at risk to helping us, the general public. And I'm not going to put away from around the world, because even in our NHS, we've got doctors and nurses who are from other countries, and they're doing a phenomenal job. And I can't even imagine what it's like to do that job. And just take my hat off to all of you for putting yourself in harm's way to help everyone else. And I thank you so much for that. But I also want to sort of say thank you to all other key workers. And this includes teachers, supermarket workers, delivery drivers, any other person or industry or profession that puts themselves in harm's way to keep people eating and the country or world functioning. So just want to say thank you to all of you. So just a quick sort of summary of sort of how I do deal with, or how I keep positive during a time of crisis, is to think outside the situation. So I'm trying to think of an ulterior motive that the universe may have to all of us, or is there a message out there, a message in all of this that we can learn from? Is there a message to say to treat each other better, to work together more often, to work together as a world rather than just individuals, to see the good instead of the bad? So it's very sad, but instead of looking sort of how many people are losing their lives, try and look at how many people are surviving from this virus and are recovering from this virus. Think about things that you do want instead of what you don't want. So instead of saying I don't want the virus, say I do want people to get healthy, I do want people to get through this, and I do want people to survive. Imagine an end. Instead of reading the news and reading all the bad media around, start thinking that there will be an end to this and we will come out stronger. And I know it's tough, it's not easy, but in order for us to get through this, we've got to see an end to all of it and have the belief that there will be an end to it. Having belief is one of the biggest keys and the biggest things we have as human beings, and something can help us pull through and get through all of this. Now, I do believe that we will get through this. It's not going to be easy by any means. And again, our medical staff are doing absolutely phenomenal jobs. And I thank you for every key worker around the globe who is helping eradicate this virus. But also want to say thank you to everyone else, all individuals that are actually doing their part, staying at home, only going out for essential travel, only going out for just a bit of exercise, but staying at home to try and stop this virus from spreading. But that's it from me. I just, again, also want to say thank you so much for watching. I will be doing a lot more videos, maybe a little bit more positive than this, but again, this is how I keep positive in these sort of situations. Again, not ever dealt with this kind of situation before in my life. I hope we never have to either, but this is how I deal with sort of crises in any sort of given situation, and how I stay positive within the time. But again, well, thank you so much for watching. And look forward to more videos coming soon. See you soon. Bye bye.